we're talking to the division that last year I called the NFC least, and they were. And I don't know that I can be uh, demeaning of the other three teams, but I think it would be fair to say that Washington, Dallas, and the Giants all have major question marks.
The voice of the Philadelphia Eagles and our friend Merrill Reese. We bring him in here now on the National Football Show. How you doing, Merrill?
Good, Dan. How are you?
Hanging in there. Merrill, I will say this to you. I had a great phone call today from Bob Lang of the Philadelphia Eagles, and he told me this. He goes, listen, Dan, I want to tell you something here. Nick Sirianni wanted me to let you know that he's going to come on the show. He's wanting to do your show, and he's been watching it a little bit here, and really loves what you're doing. And I told Bob, I go, Bob, that's pretty cool. He goes, yeah, we're going to do some of the local stuff there. It seems that there's like a reboot going on in Philadelphia now, that there's a new, I don't want to say a new mentality, but there's like a new feeling, like a start over kind of mentality now. Do you agree?
Well, I guess to a degree, because I don't want to infer in any way, shape, or form that Doug Peterson was in any way reluctant to do things. Doug was a very affable, outgoing guy, and I thought that Doug gave the media as much access as he was permitted to do. So I think the Eagles moved on from a terrific guy, and the experience I have had with Nick Sirianni has been nothing but positive. He's got great energy. He's got a spark. He's got a love for the game. And I'm excited to see how this all plays out.
Merrill, would you say this is a reboot or a reload in Philadelphia in 2021?
Explain the difference.
See, I'm not sure. I'm not sure because when you ask the question to any of the Eagle people or people covering the team, they think it's more of a reload because they think they still have some of the components on that football team. And in the division that they have in the NFC East, it's not one of your world beaters now, that they still think that they can compete. Usually teams that are rebuilding are not going to contend for a division title. People still think in Philadelphia that they can contend for an NFC East. I mean, that's why I threw that kind of out there. Is it a reboot here or kind of like a rebuild here?
I think it's a let's see. It's not destroy the team. It's not get rid of every big salary player. It's not get rid of Fletcher Cox. It's not get rid of Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks and start all over again because they're old and expensive. I think it's this season, let's see what we have. And I think that, and you alluded to this, we're talking to the division that last year I called the NFC least. And they were. And I don't know that I can be demeaning of the other three teams, but I think it would be fair to say that Washington, Dallas, and the Giants all have major question marks. None of them are teams that you look at and say, you know what? One of these three could end up in the Super Bowl. One of those three, including one of the four, if you add the Eagles, will end up in the playoffs. Don't forget, the Eagles went into the last game of the season last year, and the Giants and Washington were still at that point alive for the playoffs. And had the Eagles beaten Washington, the Giants would have gone to the playoffs. So, I've heard guys look at this football team and say, you know what? They won 4 games last year. They are lucky to win 5 this year. And then I've heard people go wild on the other side and say, this could be a 10-win team. I'm going to be honest with you. Dan, I am not one of these people when the schedule comes out who can't wait to sit down with a pen and chart and say W, W, L, W, L, 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 W, because I believe, and I'm sure as a football guy, what counts is the health of that team when you're playing them. I mean, if they're playing the Cowboys late in the season, and Dak Prescott and their left tackle are out, it's an entirely different story. We don't know for sure about Jalen Hurts. I like Jalen Hurts. Everything I've seen of Jalen Hurts has been very positive. He went through the 4 starts last year, really without the benefit of any preseason games, without the benefit of any first team reps until the very end. I like his arm. I like his intelligence. I like his physicality, his movement. But again, you're talking about an inexperienced quarterback. You're talking about an offensive line, Dan, that has Lane Johnson back from an ankle injury. He says he's fine. Brandon Brooks back from an Achilles tear. He says he's fine. Jason Kelsey, who is now well into his 30s, I think he's 32, can he hold up and continue to contribute? Isaac Siamalo, who's a decent left guard. And then you're talking about Jordan Mailata, a left tackle, who may be one step away from becoming a Pro Bowl caliber player. Or on the other hand, a guy who's going to be challenged for that job by Andre Dillard, who hasn't shown a lot yet. So there are so many. And then there's a defense, a lot of questions about a defense. I can't sit here right now and tell you what the scheme is going to be. I'm not 100% sure if they're going to be 4-3. I think they are, or 3-4. Jonathan Gannon is a new defensive coordinator. There are some new players, but again, a lot of unknowns.
Merrill, let me throw this at you here on Jalen Hurts too. I'll tell you what I love about him. Here's a guy that was a phenomenal teammate when he was out Alabama, and playing for a coach like that, okay, it teaches you a lot: patience, perseverance, hanging in there. You've got to produce for that kind of guy. He's taken out. They put another player in there. He's got to learn to be a great teammate. He's kind of gone through the entire emotions. Then what does he do? He goes to a completely different offense. Lincoln Riley brings him in. All of a sudden, the players on that Oklahoma team gravitate to him. And what I love about that is that means that guy's got presence. Every time that guy like that walks into a locker room or walks into a huddle, he's going to command the huddle because he's gone through all these storylines that has taught him to be in the position that he's in right now. Again, like you said, Merrill, I don't know if the kid's got ability to be able to go out there and be a top 10 guy, but you can win in this league with a top 15 quarterback, a top 20 quarterback, and go on and win a Super Bowl. If Brad Johnson and some of these other guys can go out and win a Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts can too. But there's something about him with a presence. Do you get that feeling being around him that he's got that kind of presence?
I do. And you know what? He has a quarterback coach, a good one, Brian Johnson, who was the O coordinator at the University of Miami. And Brian Johnson has known Jalen Hurts since Jalen was 4 years old. He played for Brian's father, for Jalen's father back in his high school days. So there's a real connection there. There's a real affinity there. And I can't tell you top 15, top 10, top 5. I know that Dak Prescott came into this league years ago, and he was not the quarterback that the Cowboys even wanted, believe it or not, but they picked him because he was there at that point. And Dak Prescott has really done well for Dallas. And I think there are a lot of similarities stylistically between what I have seen of Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott.
Devonta Smith, tell me what you're hearing about him. And, the notion coming out of Alabama. And first off, before I go there, Merrill, you know what I loved about this draft? It was a familiarity draft. Look at what they did in Cincinnati. They got Joe Burrow, an LSU wide receiver. Guy played with him at LSU. He knew who he was. Okay, down in Miami, Tua knew Waddle. They went out and they got Waddle. You're sitting here and you bring in a guy like Devonta Smith. Smith knows Jalen Hurts. These guys all kind of know one another. And to me, that leads me to believe that the Eagles are going to give him every opportunity to win this job. Do you agree?
Absolutely. And I'm going to be honest with you, watching college football over the last couple of years, I would watch Devonta Smith and say, wow, that I would love to see the Eagles get this guy someday, but they're never going to be in position to get him. So get it out of your mind. Devonta Smith is a pipe dream. And let me tell you something. I jumped out of the chair when they made the move that put them into position to get Devonta Smith. I would have taken him at 6 in a minute. That's how much I like Devonta Smith. And he's a tremendous receiver. He's a high character guy. And then I went out to their mini camp last week and I watched him. And people talk about his size. Danny's 6'1", but his arms can touch the seats on both sides of the stadium. I mean, he has the catch radius of somebody 6'4". He leaps as if there are springs in the bottom of his feet, and he drops nothing. Anything that touches either hand sticks. I mean, he made one-handed grabs that would, and it's only a mini camp that had me going, wow. I'm going to go so far as to tell you, this is my 45th year of covering the team and of being the play-by-play voice of the Eagles. And for 5 years before that, I was going to training camp as the pre and post game show guy. So that's a half century. I have never been as impressed by a rookie wide receiver as I have been with Devonta Smith. And that includes my partner in the booth, who became a 6-time All-Pro, Mike Quick, who I loved as soon as I saw him, but he never had the speed of Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith makes me go, wow.
That's incredible to hear that too. And that makes me now a fan of him, Merrill. And one of maybe the things that I looked at when I said, boy, I don't know. You know, I played in an era back in Jerome's era where you could mug the guy at the line of scrimmage. You can wrestle him down. You know, you could chuck him all down the field. Probably one of the things that really gives him the ability to be able to play maybe in the slot or not to be mugged on the line of scrimmage is because these wide receivers, it's a different game today, isn't it, Merrill, that you don't see these guys mugged like you did back in the day, and you can't be as physical with these guys at the line of scrimmage any longer. So maybe that's why, again, he's a modern-day wide receiver and fits into today's game better than what people think.
Well, not only that, Dan, but nobody gets a shot at him. He's quick as well as fast. He slithers. I watched him at Alabama. You can catch him downfield with a 6-yard pass, and he takes it the distance, and nobody. I mean, he just runs away from everybody with blinding speed. And he didn't get hurt at Alabama. He didn't get hurt. He played. He was a healthy guy. He played every game. So, and you're talking about college football at the very, very highest level. So and then there's another wide receiver who came in last year and got hurt, but don't push him out of the picture quite yet, because you talked about the slot. They may be able to put Jalen Reagor in the slot at times, and he could turn out to be pretty good. I mean, I saw a lot of good things that he did in the limited time he spent on the field, but I think Reagor is going to be a real contributor this year.
Couple last questions for you here, Merrill. The tight end position, where direction are the Eagles going in now at the tight end position?
It'll be Dallas Goedert, and they re-signed Richard Rodgers, who can be a solid second tight end. Zach Ertz hasn't been around. The word today is they're very close to a deal, and I don't have any inside information to substantiate this, but the word is that they're close to a deal with Buffalo for Zach Ertz. But I believe you have as much chance of being on this roster as Zach Ertz in a few weeks.
All right, real quick here. How great is it? You know, you say you've been there almost 50 years now talking Eagles football. This pandemic, Merrill, has been just absolutely something that I never thought that we'd ever see in our entire life. I don't think anybody ever did. How great is it going to be to see the fans back at the link again? And Eagle fans back tailgating again, rooting for their favorite team, and you seeing the fans there too, rooting on their favorite team. I mean, Eagle fans not at a football game, it's sacrilegious.
Yeah, Dan, I've never taken it for granted. Every Sunday, I pull into the parking lot and make the walk across the street, and the fans are there in full gear and regalia and barbecue pits and stoves and trailers and everything else. And I have never taken it for granted. It's the greatest feeling that you can ever have. And last year there was a tremendous void in all of our lives. So to have that return is absolutely terrific.
I can't wait. Merrill, you always find time for me, my friend, and I thank you so much. And by the way, I'm so happy that my relationship with the Philadelphia Eagles is really great. Getting a call today from them saying that they want to be on the program as well, and having you always on the program now. Thank you so much for being part of it. It really means a lot to me.
Thank you, Dan. And you're going to enjoy speaking with Nick Sirianni because he's a, I'll just tell you a quick story. And you'll appreciate this. They told me that I would have an hour to speak with Nick on a one-on-one Zoom because there's nobody going into the NovaCare facility right now. And I quickly wrote down Jalen Hurts, offensive style, tight end situation. And I wrote about 6 or 7 things that I wanted to talk to Nick Sirianni about. So we clicked the Zoom and he comes on and he says, "Hey, Merrill, great meeting you." And we went on and we started talking. And an hour later, we were still telling stories and well, I know him. Oh, well, I know him. And we were back and forth laughing and telling stories. And I never got to one football topic. That's the kind of engaging person you're going to be on with.
I can't wait to hear that and see that. That is going to be fantastic. Merrill, thank you, my friend. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Dan. As always, it's been